Hi everybody, let's try to understand what we call DNS spoofing and DNS cache poisoning attacks. As a reminder, what we call DNS is the protocol that resolves an URL that can also be called FQDN for a fully qualified domain name into an IP address, which is the identifier of a machine over Internet or over a network, generally speaking. If a machine A wants to communicate with a machine B, A does need the IP address of B. However, it may happen that A only has the name, the URL of B. In this case, A will use the DNS protocol to get the IP address of B according to its URL. A DNS request is then sent to a DNS server known by A because the IP of this DNS server is declared in the network interface parameters of A. And this request will be identified by an ID, which is actually a field in the headers of the DNS protocol. And the same ID will be used in the answer provided by the DNS server. The DNS spoofing attack involves the stealing of this ID. And to do so, the attacker will sniff the network if he is on the same, or will use one of the DNS protocol weaknesses that makes the ID predictable. Once the ID is stolen, the hacker will use it in the false answer he will send to the requester to provide him a false IP in order, for example, to redirect him to a phishing site. Let's talk now about DNS cache poisoning. DNS servers have a cache, and this cache allows them to keep during a limited amount of time the records of the resolutions of the domain names they do not have authority on. Indeed, a DNS server only has the IP addresses of the domain names under its authority. For the other domains, it will contact the related DNS servers. In order to not waste too much time requesting again and again other DNS servers for the resolution of recurring domain names, the answers are kept in a cache. And DNS cache poisoning consists in corrupting the cache with fake data. To proceed, the hacker has to control the domain name. For example, let's consider the domain fake.com, which is owned by a hacker. And let's assume that the DNS which has authority on it is ns.fake.com, which is also controlled by the hacker. If the user wants to request the IP address of www.fake.com, he will send the request to his first node DNS, the one declared on his computer, and this DNS will forward this request to ns.fake.com since it is the one that has the answer. When ns.fake.com will answer to the DNS which has sent the request, it will include in its answer some fake information, such as, for example, fake IPs for well-known websites, so the user will be redirected to legitimate machines when he will try to reach these websites. That's all. I hope it was clear enough. Goodbye.